It happens every day. You sit down, pick up your phone, and unlock it. Your thumb instinctively slides across the screen, scrolling through notifications, images, videos, or messages that feel urgent. Yet, when you step back and really think about it, most of what you see means absolutely nothing. It's a strange paradox. The very tool that was supposed to connect us to the world, to make life easier, has slowly become a trap, a shackle, cleverly disguised as a modern marvel. We're all familiar with it now. The constant buzz, the glowing screen, the infinite scroll. The smartphone has become the window to the world. But it's also a prison. And what's worse, we don't even realize we're imprisoned. Every day, more and more people are addicted, stuck in a loop of endless notifications, likes, and updates that promise connection but deliver only fleeting satisfaction. The addiction to these devices doesn't just happen by accident. It's not simply a matter of poor self-discipline or an inherent flaw in human nature. No, this addiction is carefully engineered. Every notification, every sound, every click is part of a deliberate design. The very interface of your phone has been crafted to hijack your attention, to hold you in a state of constant craving for more. This is not a random occurrence. It's a billion-dollar industry built on turning your time and your mind into products, sold for profit. At first glance, smartphones seem like incredible tools. They allow us to communicate, stay informed, share our lives, and connect with others across the globe. But somewhere along the line, they ceased being mere tools. They became extensions of our very being, so much so that we now feel lost without them. What we often fail to recognize is how subtly and how thoroughly these devices have infiltrated our lives. The phone has evolved from a tool for communication into a device that controls the way we think, the way we interact, and the way we perceive the world. Think about it. When you pick up your phone, you're not just checking your messages or scrolling through social media. You're entering a world designed to keep you engaged, to keep you coming back for more. That's not an accident. It's by design. There is no randomness in the way your phone operates. Every swipe, every tap, every scroll is calculated to keep you on the platform, to keep you addicted, to keep you coming back for just a few more minutes or hours. It's easy to think that you're the one choosing to scroll, to check that message, to watch one more video. But what if I told you that these choices aren't truly yours? That your brain, your attention, is being manipulated by forces you can't even see. When you pick up your phone, you're not just scrolling through random bits of content. You're walking into a labyrinth designed to lead you exactly where they want you to go. And what's at stake isn't just your time, it's your freedom. The freedom to think for yourself, to make decisions, to have control over your own mind. If this all sounds a bit extreme, let me explain. The smartphone is like a modern-day slot machine. The idea is simple: variable reinforcement. It's the same principle that keeps gamblers playing, even when they know the odds are stacked against them. Every time you refresh your feed, you're expecting a reward. Maybe a new message, a like on your post, or a video that's just what you needed to see. Sometimes you get that reward, sometimes you don't. But the uncertainty keeps you coming back. And it's not just random. This is a very calculated, deliberate strategy to keep you hooked. Psychologist B.F. Skinner, who pioneered the study of behavior, proved that humans are most addicted when they don't know what they're going to get. It's the uncertainty, the unpredictability of what comes next, that drives us to keep scrolling. That tiny thrill we get when we swipe down, hoping for something new, for something exciting. And when it happens, when we get that notification or that message, it floods our brains with dopamine, making us feel good, at least for a moment. But here's the problem. This dopamine hit is not sustainable. Like any addiction, the more we get, the more we need to feel the same level of satisfaction. And this is where it gets insidious. The system is designed to keep you needing more. Every time you pick up your phone, you're not just checking messages or browsing Instagram. You're feeding the machine. The more time you spend on your phone, the more data you generate. And that data is the fuel that keeps this system running. Every click, every swipe, every second spent glued to that screen is another piece of you that's sold, another moment of your life that's mined for profit. It's not just your time that's at stake here, it's your very attention. In a world full of distractions where your mind is constantly pulled in 1,000 different directions, your ability to focus, to think deeply, has been fragmented. Every notification, every alert, every new post you see is like a little shard of your attention being taken away. And slowly, over time, you begin to notice that you can't hold a thought for more than a few seconds. You can't sit down and read a book, engage in a meaningful conversation, or even just sit with your thoughts for a moment. It's like your mind is constantly jumping from one thing to the next, never fully landing on anything. The term for this is mental fragmentation. The ability to focus and concentrate has been gradually eroded, and what's left is a mind constantly jumping from one stimulus to another, never quite settling. This makes it harder to engage in anything requiring deep thought, like studying, reading, or reflecting on life. We've all felt it, the nagging urge to check our phones, even when we know there's nothing important there. The anxiety when we don't get the notification we're waiting for. The constant fear of missing out on something, anything that could be happening right now. And it's not just our attention that's fragmented, it's our very experience of the world. We've become so accustomed to the constant stream of information, to the endless distractions, that we've forgotten what it means to be truly present, to be engaged in the moment, to feel the depth of an experience without rushing to the next thing. We've become numb to the world around us, anesthetized by the constant stream of digital stimuli. We don't feel boredom anymore. We don't feel the quiet moments that allow for reflection and growth. We don't even know how to just be without a screen in front of us. This constant barrage of information has not only changed the way we experience the world, but it has also redefined how we interact with each other. Relationships, whether romantic, familial, or friendships, have been warped by the presence of smartphones. How many times have you sat across from someone, both of you glued to your screens, lost in your own digital worlds? How many conversations have been interrupted by the urgent need to check a notification or answer a message? We've become so dependent on these devices that we've forgotten how to truly connect with one another. And let's not forget the impact smartphones have had on our mental health. Studies have shown a clear correlation between excessive screen time and rising rates of anxiety, depression, and stress, particularly among younger generations. The pressure to keep up with an idealized version of others' lives on social media, combined with the constant need for validation through likes and comments, has led to a dramatic shift in how people perceive themselves. The comparison, the constant measuring of self-worth against the curated lives of others, is a recipe for self-doubt, insecurity, and loneliness. But here's where it gets even more troubling. It's not just the personal effects of digital addiction that should concern us. There are broader societal implications to all of this. The very way in which we relate to the world, to each other, is changing. The smartphone, once a tool for communication and connection, has now become a mechanism for control. What we see, what we believe, what we desire, is increasingly shaped not by our own choices, but by algorithms designed to keep us engaged and, ultimately, to shape our behavior in a way that benefits someone else. The rise of surveillance capitalism is the term coined by Shoshana Zuboff, a Harvard professor, to describe the way in which our personal data is collected, analyzed, and sold. But it's not just about collecting data, it's about manipulating behavior. The goal of this digital architecture is not simply to entertain, but to control. By studying our behavior, how long we look at a picture, what we click on, when we're most vulnerable, these companies learn exactly how to keep us hooked. And it's all based on one fundamental principle: more engagement means more profit. The longer we stay on the platform, the more data they gather, and the more ads they can sell. Think about it for a moment. When you log into Facebook or Instagram, you're not just a user of the platform, you're the product. Your attention is the commodity being sold. And what's worse, the more time you spend on these platforms, the more they learn about you. They understand your fears, your desires, your weaknesses. They know what will make you click, what will make you engage, and what will make you stay just a little bit longer. They know you better than you know yourself. So, what does all of this mean? It means that we are living in a world where we are no longer in control of our own attention, our own desires, or even our own sense of self. The lines between who we are and who we've been shaped to be are becoming increasingly blurred. The very devices we use to connect with the world are now shaping the way we think, the way we act, and the way we interact with others. But there's more. The effects of this constant digital engagement aren't just psychological, they're physiological too. We are physically altering our brains every time we pick up our phones. The constant bombardment of information, the infinite scroll, the never-ending notifications, it's rewiring our neural circuits. Our brains, designed to focus on one task at a time, are being conditioned to jump from one stimulus to the next, losing the ability to concentrate for extended periods. And it's not just our brains that are changing, our society is changing too. We live in a world where we are constantly connected, but somehow we're more isolated than ever. The rise of social media has brought people closer together in some ways, but in others, it's created new forms of loneliness. We've become obsessed with crafting perfect online personas, projecting images of ourselves that are carefully curated and manipulated. And in doing so, we've lost touch with the real, unfiltered version of ourselves, the one that isn't shaped by likes, comments, and followers. This digital landscape, built to keep us engaged and distracted, is starting to affect the very fabric of our society. What we value, what we believe, and how we interact with one another is being shaped not by the real world, but by algorithms that are designed to keep us glued to our screens. And as this system continues to grow, the question becomes more urgent. Who are we becoming in this new world? What will happen to our identity, to our relationships, to our sense of purpose if we continue down this path? Now, you might be wondering, how did we get here? How did we, as a society, become so dependent on a device that, in theory, was meant to enhance our lives? The answer is both complex and unsettling. The digital age promised us freedom, freedom to access information, to communicate without boundaries, to explore and connect with anyone, anywhere. But instead of offering freedom, these devices have subtly redefined what it means to be free. They've hijacked our time, our attention, and ultimately, our sense of self. The technology we once hailed as a revolution has quietly transformed into a tool of control. And it's not just about individual choices anymore, it's about the very structure of society itself. If you think about it, we've been sold a world that's more connected, more open, but less free. And the cost of this connection is high. We have to start recognizing the hidden mechanisms behind our behavior, the ways in which companies and algorithms are shaping our desires without us even noticing. The idea that we are in control of our choices is an illusion. In reality, our actions are being guided by forces much larger than ourselves. Every scroll, every swipe, every click is a carefully orchestrated action that has been designed with one purpose in mind: to keep you engaged, to keep you coming back for more. And this is where the real danger lies. Surveillance capitalism is a term that's not just an abstract concept. It's a reality that governs our lives. Think about the implications of this for a moment. You are the product, not the customer. Your data, the thoughts, emotions, and actions you think are personal, are all being collected and analyzed. And this data is not just used to improve services or create better user experiences. It's being used to shape you, to predict what you want before you even know it, to sell you a reality crafted by algorithms. The idea of privacy has become a distant memory. What is even more disturbing is the extent to which this data-driven manipulation has pervaded almost every aspect of our lives. These companies don't just collect data on your preferences, they gather data on your emotional state, your habits, your vulnerabilities, and they use this information to control the digital environment around you. If they can keep you scrolling, keep you addicted, they win. But what do you lose in the process? Your autonomy, your agency, your ability to make independent decisions. And it's not just your autonomy at stake. The entire nature of how we communicate, how we relate to each other, is being slowly reprogrammed. Relationships that once relied on face-to-face interaction, empathy, and shared experiences are now mediated by screens. The conversations we have are being altered by the filters of digital platforms, by algorithms that decide what content we see, what we hear, and even how we interact with one another. Have you noticed how different a conversation can feel when it's conducted via text message or social media, as opposed to an in-person interaction? It's like there's a wall in between. The tone, the nuance, the emotion, it all gets lost. We've replaced real human connection with digital simulations of connection, and it's taken a toll. We don't just miss out on the depth of face-to-face communication. We start to feel disconnected from the very essence of what makes us human. Our relationships, our communities, are becoming more fragmented as we allow digital platforms to mediate every interaction. This process isn't just passive, it's active and intentional. As we become more dependent on our phones, we're losing touch with the world around us. The constant notification buzz, the blinking screen, the never-ending feed. It all trains us to stay distracted, to never be fully present in the moment. It's easy to forget how deeply these technologies affect us when we're immersed in the digital world. But once you step back and really look, you start to see the cracks. You begin to realize that, in exchange for convenience, we've traded something far more valuable: our ability to live deeply, to engage with the world in a meaningful way. Let's face it, we've forgotten how to be bored. We've forgotten how to sit still, to let our minds wander. The world used to be full of pockets of silence, those small moments between activities where we had the opportunity to reflect, to think deeply, to process our emotions. But today, silence is anathema. The moment we find ourselves with a few seconds of spare time, we instinctively reach for our phones. That empty space, once filled with contemplation, is now filled with distraction. But in the process, we lose something vital. We lose our ability to reflect, to truly engage with our thoughts and our surroundings. Boredom, in a sense, has become a form of resistance. When you allow yourself to be bored, You give yourself the chance to reconnect with your inner world. You allow your mind to process and organize experiences, to find meaning, and to explore your deepest thoughts. But in a world that is always on, where silence is seen as something to avoid, we've lost that essential skill. And without it, we become disconnected not just from our own minds, but from the world itself. But the loss of autonomy and mental clarity is not just a personal problem, it's a collective one. We live in a world where our collective attention is the most valuable resource. Governments, corporations, and tech giants understand this. The more attention they can capture, the more control they have over our thoughts, our behaviors, and our choices. In a way, we've become part of a giant experiment in behavior modification. We've willingly entered a system that tracks, predicts, and shapes our actions. And we've done it all in the name of convenience, connection, and entertainment. This is not just about screen time or digital addiction. This is about the future of our society. As we become more and more integrated into the digital ecosystem, we risk losing the very essence of what makes us human, our ability to think critically, to reflect deeply, to engage with others on a real, meaningful level. These are the things that are at risk. We're trading our freedom, our autonomy, and our consciousness for the fleeting pleasures of digital distraction. But the costs are much higher than we realize. The first step in reclaiming our freedom is awareness. We need to acknowledge that we are not just passive users of technology, we are its subjects. The more we accept that our attention is being harvested, the more we can begin to take steps to resist. This doesn't mean rejecting technology entirely. It means using it on our terms, not allowing it to use us. We need to become more mindful of how much of our time and attention we're giving away. We need to recognize the psychological traps that have been set for us and start making choices based on what truly matters, not on what algorithms decide we should care about. One of the most powerful tools in this battle is consciousness. Being aware of our impulses, our habits, and our desires. Every time we reach for our phones, every time we swipe, every time we get distracted, we need to ask ourselves, what am I really looking for? What am I seeking? Is this moment of distraction truly adding value to my life, or am I just feeding into a system designed to keep me hooked? This is not an easy journey. It's going to take effort, awareness, and sometimes even discomfort. But it is possible. In a world that's designed to pull us in every direction, we must learn to pull back. We must carve out space for real experiences, for real conversations, for deep thoughts. We need to remember that we are not just the sum of our digital experiences. We are human beings with minds that are capable of reflection, insight, and connection. The more we reclaim our time, our attention, and our ability to focus, the more we can begin to reconnect with what really matters. One of the simplest but most profound ways to resist the pull of digital addiction is to create moments of silence. It sounds simple, but in a world where silence is almost a foreign concept, it's a radical act. Silence allows us to breathe, to pause, to listen. Not just to the world around us, but to our own thoughts. We need to make room for those moments where we are free from the noise of the digital world, where we can reconnect with ourselves and others in a way that's meaningful, not mediated by a screen. And while it's important to reclaim our individual agency, we also need to think about the larger picture. The digital landscape is not something we can change on our own. If we are going to resist the grip of surveillance capitalism, we must advocate for systemic change. We must demand more transparency from the companies that control our data and we must push for regulations that protect our privacy and autonomy. These companies are not just neutral platforms, they are profit-driven entities that are actively shaping our behavior. It's time for society to hold them accountable. There is hope. There are ways to break free from the grip of surveillance capitalism. But it starts with the realization that we've been controlled and the decision to reclaim our sovereignty over our own minds. We must resist the illusion of constant connection and the promise of instant gratification. We must learn to live with intention, to choose our distractions wisely, and to find joy in the real world, not just the digital one. But even more than that, we must recognize the importance of community. True freedom doesn't come from being plugged into the digital world all the time. It comes from being connected to the people around us, to the world in front of us. The more we invest in face-to-face connections, the more we build a sense of real belonging and purpose. This is the antidote to the isolation that digital platforms create. True connection lies in shared experiences, in the simple moments where we're fully present with one another. No screens, no distractions, just us. So, what's next? The first step is simple. Turn off the notifications. Create spaces of silence in your day. Start small. Reclaim your time, your attention, and your autonomy. You are more than just data. You are more than just clicks, likes, and views. You are a conscious being with the ability to think, reflect, and choose. It's time to reclaim that power. The choice is ours to make. Will we continue to let these devices control us, or will we take back control over our minds, our lives, and our future? The power to choose is in your hands, but it starts with awareness, and it's time to wake up.